Hi, welcome to this Corbettmaths video. In this video, we're going to look at the video solutions to the multiplying fractions and dividing fractions practice questions on Corbettmaths. If you need any extra help on either of those topics, multiplying fractions or dividing fractions, if you go to corbettmaths.com/contents or the main videos and worksheets page on the website and scroll down to video numbers 142 for multiplying fractions and video 134 for dividing fractions, there's dedicated video tutorials there on how to multiply fractions and divide fractions. Alternatively, you could scan the QR codes and it'll bring you straight to the videos. But in this video, we're going to focus on the video solutions to the practice questions, so let's get started. Question number 1, we've been asked to work out a half multiplied by 3/5. So to multiply fractions, we multiply the numerators and we multiply the denominators. So let's do that. So 1 times 3 is equal to 3, and 2 times 5 is equal to 10. So the answer would be 3/10. And 3/10 can't be simplified because apart from 1, they've got no other common factors. So our answer would just be 3/10. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at question number 2. So question number 2, we've been asked to work out 7/8 multiplied by 3/4. So again, we're going to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So 7 times 3 is equal to 21, and 8 times 4 is equal to 32. And that's it. So our answer would be 21 over 32, or 21/32. And that's it. So that's our answer, 21 over 32. And it can't be simplified because 21 and 32 have no other common factors apart from 1. Okay, let's have a look at question number 3. So question number 3, we've been asked to work out 4/5 multiplied by 9/10, and we've been asked to give our answer in its simplest form. So we're going to multiply these fractions together. So we're going to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So when we do that, we get, well, 4 times 9 is equal to 36, and 5 times 10 is equal to 50. So that means that 4/5 multiplied by 9/10 would be 36/50. Now both of these numbers are even, so we can divide both of them by 2. 36 divided by 2 is 18, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. So that means that 36/50 would cancel down to 18/25. Now 18 and 25, they have no other common factors apart from 1, so that means that we're done. So that means our answer is 18/25, and that's our answer in its simplest form. Now this question was another way to do it. Whenever we had 4/5 multiplied by 9/10, rather than multiplying and then cancelling down, it's possible to, whenever you're multiplying fractions, to cancel down before you multiply. So what you do is you look at this numerator and this denominator and you see, well, 4 and 10, do they have any common factors? Well, yes, you can divide both of them by 2. So if we divide this by 2, we get 2. And if we divide 10 by 2, we get 5. Now we look at these two, the numerator here and the denominator here. 9 and 5, do they have any common factors apart from 1? No. So we can now just multiply. We can do 2 times 9 is equal to 18. And we can do 5 times 5 is equal to 25. So we cancelled down before we multiplied. And that's another way you could do this question. I tend to use the top approach where I multiply the numerators and denominators and then get the answer and then just cancel it down. That's the approach that I would tend to use, but some people do like this approach where they cancel down first. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 4. So question number 4, we've now got a division. We've been asked to work out 2/3 divided by 8/11 and to give our answer as a fraction in the simplest form. So in this question, we were dividing fractions. So remember, whenever we're dividing by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal of the fraction. So in other words, we're going to keep the 2/3 as it is. Instead of divide, we're going to multiply, and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of this fraction. And reciprocal is a fancy word for flipping it over. So we're going to flip over this fraction to get 11/8. And if we multiply this together now, we'll get our answer. 2 times 11 is equal to 22, and 3 times 8 is equal to 24. So that means that 2/3 divided by 8/11 would be 22/24. And now we can cancel this down. 22 and 24 both divisible by 2. So if we divide both of these by 2, we'll get 11 over 12. And 11 and 12 have no other common factors apart from 1, so we're done. So the answer would be 11/12. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, let's have a look at question number 5. So question number 5, we've got a question involving division. We've got work out 1/4 divided by 6/7. So instead of dividing by 6/7, we're going to multiply by its reciprocal. So it's going to be 1/4 multiplied by 7/6, the reciprocal of 6/7. 1 times 7 is equal to 7, and 4 times 6 is equal to 24. Now 7 and 24 have no other common factors apart from 1. They're not divisible by any other numbers apart from 1. So that means that our answer would be 7/24. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at question number 6. So question number 6, we've been asked to work out 5/13 divided by 2/3. So again, instead of dividing by 2/3, we're going to multiply by its reciprocal, and the reciprocal of 2/3 would be 3/2. So multiplying the numerators, 5 times 3 is 15, and multiplying the denominators, 13 times 2 is 26. And 15/26, they've got no other common factors apart from 1, so that means it can't be simplified, so the answer would be 15/26. Okay, let's have a look at question number 7. So question number 7, we've been asked to work out 2/17 divided by 2/5. So again, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to write 2/17 multiplied by 5/2. We'll multiply the numerators. 2 times 5 is equal to 10, and 17 times 2 is equal to 34. Now 10 and 34 are both divisible by 2, so let's divide both of them by 2, and that's equal to 5/17. And that's our answer, 5/17. And that's it. And in this question, whenever we had 2/17 and we were multiplying by, and we took the reciprocal of 2/5 to get 5/2, we could at this point cancel down, because the numerator here and the denominator here can be cancelled down. We can divide both of those by 2 to get 1 and 1. And then we do 1 times 5 is equal to 5, and 17 times 1 is equal to 17. And the answer would be 5/17. But I tend to use this approach where I get the answer and then focus on the cancelling down at the end. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 8. So question number 8, it's a multiplication question. So we've got 5/14 multiplied by 3/4. So just multiplying the numerators, 5 times 3 is 15. And multiplying the denominators, 14 times 4 is equal to 56. And that's it. And 15 and 56 have no other common factors apart from 1. So that's it. Our answer is 15 over 56. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, let's have a look at question number 9. So question number 9 says work out 2/3 multiplied by 18. Now I either tend to approach this question in one of two ways. If I've got 2/3 multiplied by 18, that's 2/3 multiplied by, now 18 is 18 wholes, so that's 18 over 1, because 18 is the same as 18 over 1. And now I would just multiply. 2 times 18 is equal to 36, and 3 times 1 is equal to 3. So I've got 36 over 3, and 36 divided by 3 is 12. So that means that 2/3 multiplied by 18 would be 12. So that's our answer. Now that's one way to approach this question. Another way to approach this question is, rather than doing 2/3 times 18, is to do 2/3 of 18. So work out 2/3 of 18. And that will give us the same answer. Because if we take our 18, remember, to work out a fraction of an amount, we divide by the bottom and times by the top. So we'll take our 18, we'll divide it by 3 is equal to 6. And then we'll take our 6 and multiply by the numerator, which is equal to 2. 6 times 2 is equal to 12. So 2/3 of 18 is 12. So in this question, you could have used either approach. You could either turn the 18 into 18 over 1 and then just multiply the fractions, or you can work out 2/3 of 18. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 10. So question number 10 says to work out 5 divided by 3/4 and to give our answer as a mixed number. Now in this question, because we've got 5, I'm going to write 5 over 1, or 5 wholes, and we're dividing it by 3/4. Now because it's division, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to write 5 over 1 multiplied by 4 over 3, taking the reciprocal of 3/4. And now we're just multiplying numerators. 5 times 4 is equal to 20. And we'll multiply our denominators. 1 times 3 is equal to 3. So that means that 5 divided by 3/4 would be equal to 20/3. Now the question said to give our answer as a mixed number. So we've got 20/3. So let's see how many 3's go into 20. So we've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. So we're not going to have 21. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 3. So it's going to be 6. And because that's 18 and we had 20, that means we've got a remainder of 2. So it's going to be 2/3. So 20/3 is the same as 6 2/3. So that means that 5 divided by 3/4 would be 6 2/3. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. So our next question, we've got this rectangle, and we've got a rectangle. It's got a length of 7/9 of a metre and a width of 1/5 of a metre. We've been asked to work out the area of the rectangle and to include suitable units. So in this question, to find the area of the rectangle, we do the length multiplied by the width. So we're going to need to do 7/9 multiplied by 1/5. And we'll just work that out. 7 times 1 is equal to 7, and 9 times 5 is equal to 45. So that means, and because we've got 7 and 45, they're not divisible by anything apart from 1. They've got no other common factors apart from 1. So that means that our answer would be 7/45. Now we need to include our units. We're working out the area of this rectangle, and the measurements are meters, so it's going to be in square meters or meters squared. So the answer would be 7/45 meters squared, or 7/45 square meters. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 12. So question number 12, we've been asked to work out 1 1/3 multiplied by 2 2/5 and to give our answer as a mixed number. So whenever we're multiplying fractions, I like to make sure if we've got mixed numbers, I turn them into top-heavy fractions to begin with. I then multiply the fractions as normal, and then I get my answer, and if need be, I then change it back into a mixed number. I change that top-heavy fraction, if there is one, back into a mixed number. So let's change these into top-heavy fractions to begin with. So if we've got 1 1/3, so we're going to do 1 times 3, and 1 times 3 is equal to 3, plus 1 is equal to 4. So that would be 4/5. thirds. And if you need a recap on changing mixed numbers into top heavy fractions, there's a video on it in Corbettmaths, and it's very important you know how to change mixed numbers into top heavy fractions and top heavy fractions back into mixed numbers. Just to recap, if you had a 1 and 1/3 and you're dealing with thirds, in a whole you'd have 3 thirds, and you've got another third, so that's 4 thirds altogether. Or a quick way to do it is to take the whole number 1 and do 1 times 3 is equal to 3, and plus on the remainder of 1, that's 4, so you've got 4 thirds. Now we've still got our multiply, and we've got 2 and 2/5, so if we're dealing with fifths, in 2 there'd be 5 10/5, and we've got 2 more left over, so that'll be 12/5. Or the quick way to do it is to do 2 times 5 is equal to 10, plus 2 is equal to 12, so we'd have 12/5. So we've got 4 thirds multiplied by 12/5. Now we can just multiply them. So we can just multiply the two numerators and multiply the two denominators. So 4 times 12 is equal to 48, and 3 times 5 is equal to 15. And that's equal to 48/15. Now at this point, there's two different approaches in terms of how we can get our answer. Because we've got 48/15, both of these are divisible by 3, so we could cancel these first of all by dividing them by 3, cancelling it down, and then change it into a mixed number. Or we could change it into a mixed number and then cancel it down, and I'm going to show you that either approach would work. So let's first of all cancel these down, okay? So if I was to divide both of these by 3, because both of these numbers are divisible by 3, 48 divided by 3 is equal to 16, and 15 divided by 3 is equal to 5. So that means we've got 16/5. Now that's a top heavy fraction, and we want to change it into a mixed number. So we see how many 5s go into 16. That's 3, remainder 1. So the answer would be 3 and 1/5. So that's our answer. So that's one approach in terms of how we could have done that question. Now we had 48/15. At this point here, we could have changed it into a mixed number to begin with. So we've got 48/15. We could have said how many 15s go into 48. That would be 3, because that'd be 45. We'd have 3 left over, so we've got 3/15. So we've got 3 and 3/15. Now we can cancel down the fraction 3/15. We can divide both of those by 3 to get 1/5. So just to show you here that whenever you had your 48/15, you could either cancel it down and then change it into a mixed number, or you could change it into a mixed number and then cancel it down. And either approach will both give you the same answer of 3 and 1/5. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Question number 13. Okay, question number 13 says to work out 1 and 4/7 divided by 1 and 1/4, and to give our answer as a mixed number. So because these are mixed numbers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change both of them into top heavy fractions to begin with. So we've got our 1 and 4/7, so we'll do 1 times 7 is equal to 7, plus 4 is equal to 11, so we've got 11/7. Or another way to think about it is in 1 you've got 7/7, and another 4/7 would be 11/7. And we're dividing that by 1 1/4, so 1 times 4 is equal to 4, plus 1 is equal to 5, so that's 5/4, or again, in a whole there's 4/4, plus another 1 will be 5/4. So we've got 11/7 divided by 5/4. So remember, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, so we're going to have 11/7 multiplied by 4/5. So now what we're going to do is we're going to multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So 11 times 4 is equal to 44, and 7 times 5 is equal to 35. So we've got 44/35. So 11/7 divided by 5/4 would be 44/35. Now we want to give our answers a mixed number. Now just checking, 44 and 35 have no other common factors apart from 1, so it can't be cancelled down at this point. So we just need to change it into a mixed number. So how many 35s go into 44? That would be 1, and then the remainder would be 9. So that would be 9/35. So the answer would be 1 and 9/35. Okay, let's have a look at question number 14. Okay, question number 14 says work out 5½ multiplied by 1 2/3, and to give our answer as a mixed number. So again, we've got mixed numbers, so let's turn them into top heavy fractions. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11, so we've got 11/2. So remember, in 5 there's going to be 10/2, plus another 1 will be 11/2. Multiplied by 1 2/3, well 1 times 3 is equal to 3, plus 2 is 5, so that's 5/3. Or another way to think about it, in 1 there's 3/3, and another 2/3 would be 5/3. Now we just need to multiply. 11 times 5 is equal to 55, and 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So we've got 55/6. And at this point, let's see if we can cancel down 55 and 6. They don't have any common factors apart from 1, so we can't cancel that down. Now we just need to see how many 6s go into 55. So in terms of 6s into 55, 9 6s is 54, so it's going to be 9, remainder 1. So 9 and 1/6. And that's it. So 5½ multiplied by 1 2/3 would be 9 1/6. So let's have a look at question number 15. So question number 15 says work out 5/6 divided by 3. Now 3 is an integer, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 5/6 divided by 3 over 1. And instead of dividing by 3 over 1, I'm going to do 5/6 multiplied by, and I'm going to do the reciprocal of 3 over 1, which would be 1/3. Now we just need to multiply. 5 times 1 is equal to 5, and 6 times 3 is equal to 18. And 5 and 18, they have no other common factors apart from 1, so that means it can't be cancelled down, so the answer would just be 5/18. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 16. Okay, let's have a look at question number 16. So question number 16 says, Aleb feeds his pet cat 3/5 of a can of cat food each day. How many cans of cat food should Aleb buy each week? So each day the cat eats 3/5 of a can of cat food. And we need to multiply that by 7 because there's 7 days in a week. So 7 is the same as 7 over 1. So if we do 3 times 7, that's equal to 21. And 5 times 1, that's equal to 5. So that's equal to 21/5. And let's change that into a mixed number just so it makes a bit more sense in this context. So we've got 21 divided by 5. So how many 5s go into 21? That's going to be 4. Remainder 1, so 4 and a 5th. So that means each week the cat needs 4 and a 5th cans of cat food. Now the question says how many cans of cat food should Aleb buy each week? Well, if he buys 4, he's not necessarily going to have enough. So he should buy 5 cans. So the answer would be 5 cans. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at question number 17. So question number 17 says a sequence is found by multiplying the previous term by 2/3. And the first term of the sequence is a 5th. So the first term of the sequence is a 5th. Now to get the next term, this term here, we need to multiply this by, we need to times by 2/3. We need to multiply by 2/3. So if we take a 5th and we multiply it by 2/3, that would tell us what the second term of the sequence would be. So 1 times 2 is equal to 2, and 5 times 3 is equal to 15. So that'll be 2/15. So that means the second term of the sequence is 2/15. Now we need to multiply by 2/3 again, because to get the next term we multiply by 2/3. So if we take our 2/15, so 2/15, and we multiply by 2/3, that will be the third term in the sequence. So 2 times 2 is equal to 4, and 15 times 3 is equal to 45. So that means the third term in the sequence would be 4/45, and that's it. So the third term in the sequence would be 4/45. And we find that by taking the 5th, multiplying it by 2/3 to get 2/15, multiplying by 2/3 again to get 4/45. And that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question, question number 18. Okay, let's have a look at question number 18. So question number 18, we've got this function machine, we've got input, then we've got times by 3/4, and then we've got divide by 2/3, and then we get the output. We've been asked to find the output if the input is 2. So we're going to start with an input of 2. We're going to times it by 3/4 to then find what this number would be. Then we're going to divide by 2/3 to then find the output. So let's take our 2 and multiply it by 3/4 to begin with. So 2 is the same as 2 over 1. And then whenever we multiply by 3/4, we'll multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So 2 times 3 is equal to 6. And then with the denominators, 1 times 4 is equal to 4. So that means that we've got 6/4, and we can cancel this down, dividing both of them by 2 to get 3/2. So that means that we would have 3/2 here. We now need to divide this by 2/3. So that's going to be 3/2 divided by 2/3. So instead of dividing by 2/3, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So flipping over this fraction to get 3/2. 3 times 3 is equal to 9, and 2 times 2 is equal to 4. So the output would be 9/4. So the answer would be 9/4. Now we weren't asked to write that as a mixed number, so we could leave our answer as 9/4, or if you wanted to leave it as a mixed number, the answer would be 2 1/4. So either one of those two would be perfect. Okay, let's have a look at part B. Part B says find the input if the output is a half. So let's go back up, and we're told that the output is equal to a half. So we need to go backwards and find the input. So we're going to go backwards. Remember, whenever we go backwards on a function machine, we do the inverse operations. So we're going to take our half and we're going to multiply by 2/3 to begin with. So to go this way, we're going to multiply by 2/3 to begin with. And then what we'll do is we'll then divide by 3/4, and then that will give us our input. So we need to take our half and times it by 2/3. Let's do that to begin with. So let's take our half and multiply by 2/3. So 1 times 2 is equal to 2, and 2 times 3 is equal to 6. So half times 2/3 would be 2/6, and we can divide both of those by 2 to get a third. So we've now got a third, so let's go back up. We now know that this is a third at this point. Now to find our input, we now need to divide by 3/4, doing the inverse operation. So we're going to take a third and divide it by 3/4. So let's take our third, and let's divide by 3/4. Now to divide by 3/4, we'll actually multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of 3/4, which is 4/3. And we'll do 1 times 4 is equal to 4, and 3 times 3 is equal to 9. So the answer is 4/9. And that's it. So if the output is a half, the input would have been 4/9. And we could check our answer. If we took our 4/9 and multiplied by 3/4 and divided by 2/3, we would hopefully get a half. Okay, let's have a look at question number 19. So question number 19 says work out 2/9 plus a half divided by 4/5. Now this question is a bit of a trick question. I've given this question on purpose because I want to make sure that you know your order of operations. So remember, with order of operations, you've got your brackets, then you've got your orders, or some people call them indices. Then we've got our divisions and multiplications and our additions and subtractions. So whenever we're doing a calculation, we need to do our brackets first of all, then any order, so our powers or indices or roots. Then we've got any divisions and multiplications, and they have the same importance. So if it's just got divisions and multiplications, you work from left to right. And then finally any additions and subtractions. So if we have a look at our question, we've got 2/9 plus a half divided by 4/5. So to begin with, we need to do our division. So we're going to do a half divided by 4/5. So remember, whenever we're doing division involving fractions, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to take our half and we're going to multiply by 5/4. Now we just need to multiply, so we'll multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. 1 times 5 is equal to 5, and 2 times 4 is equal to 8. So 1/2 divided by 4/5 is equal to 5/8. So that means we've now got 2/9 plus 5/8. So we just need to work that out, 2/9 plus 5/8. So with these fractions, we need a common denominator. And if we think of 9 and 8, the lowest common multiple of 9 and 8 would be 72. So 72 and 72 plus. Now to get from 9 to 72, we multiply by 8. So we multiply the numerator by 8. 2 times 8 is 16. To get from 8 to 72, we multiply by 9. So we multiply the numerator by 9. 9 times 5 is equal to 45. So we've now got 16 over 72 plus 45 over 72, and we just need to add them. And that's going to be equal to 61, because 16 plus 45 is equal to 61 over 72. And 61 and 72 have no other common factors apart from 1, so it can't be cancelled down. So that's our answer, 61 over 72. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, let's have a look at question number 20. So question number 20 says, Finn spends 1/8 of his savings on a holiday. He then spends 2/3 of his remaining savings on a car. What fraction of his savings does Finn have left? So to begin with, he's got all his savings. He's got a whole. And then he spends 1/8 of them on a holiday. So after he spends 1/8 of his savings on a holiday, he'd be left with 7/8 of his savings that he started with. He then spends 2/3 of this remaining savings on a car. And then we were asked, what fraction of his savings does he have left? Now, if he spends 2/3 of his savings on a car, he's going to have 1/3 of his remaining savings left. So if we work out what 1/3 of 7/8 is, that'll be what fraction of his savings he has left. So if we do 1/3 of 7/8, that would tell us how much of his savings he has left. Because if he spends 2/3 of the remaining savings, he's left with 1/3 of the remaining savings. So if we work out 1/3 of 7/8. Now remember, whenever we're dealing with fractions, instead of doing 1/3 of 7/8, we could do 1/3 times 7/8, and that would tell us the fraction of his savings he's got left. So 1 times 7 is equal to 7, and 3 times 8 is equal to 24. So that means that Finn has got 7/24 of his savings left after he spends his money on the holiday and spends some money on a car as well. And so our answer would be 7/24. And we can check our answers correct, and we can check in a few different ways. The way I would check this question is I would choose a certain amount of money that we can work out 1/8 of and 1/3 of. So I'm going to choose a number that is a multiple of 3 and 8, so a number that's in the 24 times table. So I'm going to say that Finn had altogether £2,400 to begin with, just to choose an amount that we can work out 1/8 of, and then we can then divide by 3 as well. So if he had £2,400 to begin with, and he spent 1/8 of it on a holiday, so if we had 2,400 and we divide that by 8, 2,400 divided by 8, that's equal to £300. So that means that he would spend £300 on a holiday, and he'd be left with, well, 2,400. Take away 300, it would be equal to 2,100. So that means he'd have £2,100 left. Now, if he had £2,100 left and he spends 2/3 of that, well, let's divide it by 3 and times by 2 to see what 2/3 of this amount is. So if we divide by 3, that's equal to 700. And then if we times our 700 by 2, that's equal to 1,400. So if he spends 2/3 of this remaining money, that would be £1,400 he would spend. So if we take that away from that remaining money, we'll see how much money he's got left. So 2,100 take away 1,400 is equal to £700. So that means that if Finn started with £2,400 and he spent 1/3 of it and then spent 2/3 of what was remaining, he would have £700 left. That means we can then write that as a fraction. So we would have 700 over 2,400, dividing both of those by 100 would be 7/24, which is our answer, like so. And there is another way to show that we're right, and that is if we start off with Finn's savings. Okay, so let's say this is all Finn's savings to begin with, and if we said that he spends 1/8 of them on holiday. Now I've divided this into 24 because with 8 and 3 I found the lowest common multiple of 3 and 8, which is 24. So I've taken the savings and I've divided them into 24. So this is a 24th of his savings, a 24th of his savings, and so on, and there's 24 of them, so that's all the savings to begin with. He spends an eighth of it on a holiday, so if we do 24 divided by 8, that would be 3. So he'd spend 1, 2, 3 of his savings, 3/24 of the savings on a holiday. He then spends 2/3 of it on a car, 2/3 of what's remaining. We've taken away 3, so we've got 21 left. We're going to work out 2/3 of 21, so 2/3 of 21. So 21 divided by 3 is equal to 7, and 7 times 2 is equal to 14. So that means he's going to spend 14 of them on his car. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So he spent 3/24 of his savings on a holiday. He spent 2/3 of what was left on his car. And this is what fraction of his savings does he have left? Well, he had 24 to begin with. And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 left, so it's 7/24. And that's it. Now in this question, I would approach this question just saying, well, if he spent an eighth, he's got 7/8 left. He then spends 2/3 of the remaining amount on a car, so he's got 1/3 of the 7/8 left. So 1/3 of 7/8 would be, 1/3 times 7/8 would be 7/24, and that's it. Okay, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, let's have a look at question number 21. So question number 21 says, Mrs. Holland wants to paint a wall. The wall measures 6 2/3 meters by 3 1/7 meters. Each can of paint covers 5 meters squared, or 5 square meters, and each can cost £7.50. How much would it cost Mrs. Holland to paint her garage wall? So what we're going to do is we're going to, first of all, work out the area of the wall, and we'll work out the area of the wall by multiplying these two mixed numbers together. So we're going to do 6 2/3, so multiply by 3 1/7, and we'll get the area of the wall, and then we'll work out how much paint she'll need. So to multiply these mixed numbers, let's change them to top every fraction. So 6 times 3 is equal to 18, plus 2 is 20, so that's 20 over 3, multiplied by 3 times 7 is 21, plus 1 is equal to 22, 22 over 7. So we need to do 20/3 multiplied by 22/7. And whenever we do that, well, let's multiply the numerators and denominators. The denominators is quite straightforward. 3 times 7 is 21. And with the numerators, we've got 20 times 22. Well, if we do 22 times 2 to begin with, that's 44, and then times by 10, that's going to be 440. So instead of multiplying by 20, we multiply by 2 and then multiply by 10. Okay, so we've got 440 over 21. Now we want to change this into a mixed number, so we want to see how many 21s go into 440. So let's do that. So 440 divided by 21. So 21 into 4 doesn't go, remainder 4. We then got 21 into 44. Well, 21 into 44 goes twice, remainder 2. 21 into 20 doesn't go, so that's 0, remainder 20, and so on. So we can see we've got 20, so 20 21s go into 440, and we've got a remainder of 20, so that's going to be 20 over 21. So that means the area of the wall is 20, and 20 over 21 square meters, or meters squared. Now the question says each can of paint covers 5 square meters. So if we had 4 cans of paint, that would only cover 20 square meters. This is over that. It's actually nearly 21 square meters. So that means that Mrs. Holland's going to need 5 cans of paint, because 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 square meters. She's going to need 5 cans of paint. 4 cans of paint wouldn't be enough. And each can of paint costs £7.50. So if we take our £7.50 and times it by 5, because she's going to need 5 tins or 5 cans of paint, that's going to give us a total cost. So £7.50 multiplied by 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25, put our 5 down, carry our 2, and 5 times 7 is equal to 35, plus 2 is 37. So that means that the paint will cost her £37.50. So let's write that down, £37.50. So question number 22. Question number 22 says the numbers in each row, so we've got these rows, and each column, these columns, and the diagonals have a product of 8. That means they multiplied together to give us 8. I've been asked to work out the missing numbers, so we want to find the missing numbers in this grid. So I can actually look at this. So we've got 1, 2 and blank, and we've got a fifth 2 and blank. So we know that 1 times 2 times this number will have to be equal to 8. So 1 times 2 is equal to 2. And then if we do 8 divided by 2, that's equal to 4. So that means this number must be 4, because 4 times 2 is 8, times 1 is 8. So that means that that's equal to 4 in this box. Now we can even work out this number or this number. Let's start with this one down here. Well, a fifth times 2, well, a fifth multiplied by 2, that's 2 over 1. So 1 times 2 is equal to 2, and 5 times 1 is equal to 5. So that it's going to be 2 fifths. So obviously a fifth times 2 is 2 fifths. Now it's going to multiply together to give us 8. So we need to do 8 divided by 2 fifths. So 8 divided by 2 fifths. So when we do that, we get, so 8's the same as 8 over 1, and we need to multiply by the reciprocal, so it's going to be 8 over 1 multiplied by 5 over 2. 8 times 5 is equal to 40, and 1 times 2 is equal to 2. So we've got 40 divided by 2, and 40 divided by 2 is equal to 20. So that means that 8 divided by 2/5 is equal to 20. So that means this number must be 20. So we've now got two of the numbers. Let's now get this number here. So we've got 4 times 1/5. So 4 times 1/5 would be equal to 4/5. Now we just need to do 8 divided by 4/5 because we know that they multiplied together to be 8. So 8 divided by 4/5. So that's 8 over 1. We're now going to do 8 over 1 multiplied by 5 over 4. 8 times 5 is equal to 40. 1 times 4 is equal to 4. 40 divided by 4 is equal to 10. So this number is equal to 10. So we've now got 1, 2, 3 of the numbers. We've just got 3 more to get. Okay, so now let's get this number here. So we know that the 3 numbers in this column will multiply together to be equal to 8. So we've got 10 times 1. So 10 times 1 is equal to 10. And then if we multiply by this number, we're going to get that's equal to 8. That means this number is going to be equal to 0.8. Because I know that 0.8 times 10 is equal to 8. So this is equal to 0.8. But if we were to do it as a fraction, so we've got 8 divided by 10, and 8 divided by 10 would be 8 over 10, which if we cancel down would be 4/5, which is 0.8, so 4/5. So we've now got that number. Now let's get this number here, because 4/5 times 2 times this number is equal to 8. So we've got 4/5 times 2 is equal to, that's 2 over 1. 4 times 2 is equal to 8, and 5 times 1 is equal to 5. So now if we multiply these two numbers together, we get that's 8/5, and if we multiply by this number, then that would be equal to 8. So let's do 8 divided by 8/5. So 8 divided by 8/5, that's 8 over 1. So if we do 8 over 1 times by 5 over 8, we get 8 times 5 is equal to 40, and 1 times 8 is equal to 8, and 40 divided by 8 is equal to 5. So that means that this number here would be equal to 5. And finally, we've got this number here. Now, whichever way you approach it, we're going to have the same thing, because you've got 4 times 5 is equal to 20, times this number is equal to 8, or 10 times 2 is equal to 20, times this number is equal to 8, or 1 times 20 is equal to 20, and then times this number is equal to 8. So we just need to work out what number you'd multiply 20 by to get 8. So let's do that. So if we take our 8 and divide it by 20, that will be our answer. So 8 divided by 20 would be 8 over 20. And if we cancel that down, we can divide both of them by 2. That's going to be equal to 4/10. And divide by 2 again, that's 2/5. So that means that this number down here would be 2/5. And that's it. So we've completed the grid. Okay, let's have a look at question number 23. Okay, let's have a look at question number 23. So question number 23 says the Burton family drink 2 5/6 litres of lemonade a day, and the local shop sells 3 litres of lemonade for £2.80 or 2 litres of lemonade for £1.95. Work out the lowest amount of money that the family can spend in the shop to buy their lemonade to last them for 1 week. And this is a calculator question. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I would work out how much lemonade they drink in a week. So let's take the 2 5/6 litres and multiply that by 7 to see how much lemonade they drink in a week. So if we in our calculators type in 2 and 5/6, and it's important to know where the mix number button is on your calculator, multiply by 7, and that's equal to, and that's come up as 119 over 6. That's the top every fraction, so I'm going to change that into a mixed number on my calculator, and that's equal to 19 5/6 of a litre. So that's how much lemonade they drink in each week. They drink 19 5/6 litres of lemonade in a week. Now we need to work out the lowest amount of money that the family can spend in the shop to buy their lemonade to last them for that week. So we want to find out the lowest amount of money. In other words, what's the cheapest way we can buy this lemonade? Now they either can buy 3 litres of lemonade for £2.80 or 2 litres of lemonade for £1.95. I'm just going to check and make sure which one of these is better value for money. We can't just assume that the 3 litres of lemonade is better value for money. So let's take the 280 pence and divide it by 3 and work out how many pence per litre it is in this bottle. So 280 divided by 3 is equal to 93.3 reoccurring pence per litre. So that's for the 3 litre bottle. And for the 2 litre bottle, if we take the £1.95 and divide that by 2, that's equal to 97.5p per litre. So that means it is better value to use the 3 litres of lemonade than it is the 2 litres of lemonade. So we want to buy 19 5/6 litres of lemonade in the shop. So we're not going to be able to buy this exactly, so we'll probably want to buy 20 litres of lemonade. So if we buy 6 lots of 3 litres, so 6 times 3 litres, that's going to be 18 litres altogether. And if we buy 1 lot of 2 litres, that's going to be 20 litres, because 6 times 3 litres is 18 litres, plus another 2 litres would be 20 litres altogether. So if we buy 6 3 litres and 1 2 2 litre, that should hopefully be the cheapest way in which they can buy the lemonade in the shop. So let's do 6 multiplied by £2.80. And then do one lot of £1.95, which is just £1.95, and then add them together and see what we get. So 6 times £2.80, so 6 times £2.80 is equal to £16.80, so that's £16.80. And then we're going to buy one lot of 2 litre, which is £1.95. So if we add that on, and that's equal to £18.75, and that's the lowest amount of money that the family can spend in that shop to buy enough lemonade to last them for 1 week. And that's it. So that's our answer. And that's it. So these have been the video solutions to the multiplying fractions and dividing fractions practice questions. I really hope you found this video useful. If you need any extra help on either of those topics, video 142 in Corbettmaths is multiplying fractions, and video 134 in Corbettmaths is dividing fractions. Alternatively, you could scan these QR codes. But I really hope you found this video useful. If you have found it useful, please like it and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you. Cheers. Bye.